Welcome, everyone, to the Rambling B. Jones podcast. Today we are having food from the Silk Road. We are having Hotpot. This is a actual northern style hotpot. My favorite being Sichuan hotpot, but this food comes from the Silk Road, and as people would travel, bringing their various goods, foods, vegetables, meats, traveling across the Silk Road, they would combine all these things together in a boiling pot of oil, and the experience is always different, and the flavor is always different because whatever you put in there changes the flavor. So each time, hot pot's kind of unique in that sense. So today we're having a northern style, which has a lot of lamb, not super spicy. If you have the Sichuan style, those are going to be volcanic. That's the only way to describe those, how spicy they are. But every bit delicious as they are spicy. This is more of a mild mushrooms, lotus, some lamb. We do have some tripe, stomach. That stuff will be coming later. I can't remember exactly what we ordered right now, but currently I'm in Shanghai, but this is a northern style restaurant. They use a cauldron of like brass kettles. So it's a brass kettle that filters water up like through like a chimney system, and as the oils and water boils, you add things and you pull it out, dip it in some sauce, and enjoy it. This style, when you visit Asia, the Japanese actually have a style too. It's called shabu shabu. If you've ever had that, shabu shabu. Sorry, not shabu. I think it's shabu. Yeah, shabu shabu. That is more of a mild, more savory. You can even add noodles in it, like udon noodles, style of hot pot. Very delicious as well. I recommend that if you ever have a chance to eat shabu shabu. Very good. The Chinese style, if you're going Chinese style, go hard. Go full Sichuan. Get all the peppers. Bring the heat. As you eat the Sichuan hot pot, as the water evaporates, those chilies and oils are getting condensed. So as you eat the hot pot, it just gradually starts creeping up on you. You think maybe in the beginning, it's like, this is spicy, but I can handle it. But by the end, your skin's melting, and where the steam's coming off the pot, it's basically mace. You're just getting sprayed with mace because all that vapor is hitting you with all those oils and spices. So it's getting in your eyes, and you're clutching the table, trying to stay upright and hang in there to go the full 12 rounds. But Hong Kong hot pot. Now that's something that I had because we're coming up on Thanksgiving here in Shanghai. But this was several years ago. I went and played a hockey tournament in Hong Kong. Yes, they have ice hockey, and that's also in one of our podcasts as well. Is how ice hockey is seen around the world. It's not just European, Canadian sport now. It's a bit global, more global than people think, and even in Southeast Asia, there are pockets of it, and surprisingly, it is followed by a larger diversity of people than you might think. In Hong Kong, a lot of the hot pots are nothing more than boiling water. They might have a little flavor, but the main focus is the meats. The meats and the ingredients you're putting in there, then you're dipping your sauces once you pulled it out of the pot. So I was playing a Hong Kong tournament. I had a friend there, and she said, let's go have an authentic Hong Kong style hot pot for Thanksgiving dinner. Great. Went there, and it's probably the first time, but most likely the last time that I will ever eat ostrich testicles. Those things are about the size of a grapefruit, and putting them in a boiling pot of water doesn't really mask any of the flavors that you get when you have to tear through the outer membrane to enjoy a nice explosion, if you will, of salty, uh, yeah, salty inner liquids. Not not too far off from my typical family Thanksgivings, right? Just American, you know, turkey, pumpkin pie, ostrich testicles. Yeah, that was my Thanksgiving one year, and the worst part about it was just you couldn't eat it and just go on. The ostrich, like the after it's boiled, it was just so tough to pull through it. So I I don't think I even made it all the way through a full one. Like I said, it's about the size of a grapefruit. But I so that's not my favorite style, if I have to say that. My favorite is a nice meat if you can get like the shapu shapu. You can have like wagyu beef, Kobe beef, some like really nice marbled cuts, and those are really delicious. So they're sliced thin. So how do you know they're done? You don't want to overcook them because they're sliced super thin. Some you almost see through. So like vegetables like lotus, you let those sit in there for a while. You can also like fish stomach. That's something that a lot of hot pots have in it, and they sit in there a while, and they will be, if you eat those, they've sit in there so long they've absorbed so many oils. If you can eat those, like or potatoes, those will be the spiciest things of the whole dish. So your meats are cut really thin, and you don't want to overcook them. You have lotus, potatoes, those things that I mentioned earlier, and mushrooms. They have to sit there a while, but your meat, you really, and also stomach. The tripe is sliced so thin, you do not want to overcook it, or it becomes you ruin the flavor. It becomes rubbery. So in Chengdu, they have a saying called "qi xiang ba xia," which is 7 up, 8 down, and that's just how many times you dip it. And once you do that, 7 times dip, you're ready to go. That's it. You don't want to cook it any further. This one's running off of, sometimes they go on like butane burners. This one's like an alcohol, like these alcohol fuel cells that they burn, and that'll heat the cauldron up pretty well. Sometimes you also can use an eye, just like an electric eye. At home we use just a butane burner. Those are good, but you go through the butane cartridges pretty quick. Each one for each time. So if you had a restaurant, that's not really viable. But these cauldrons, they're like this one being Mongolian style, has 2 sides. It's copper. Water goes in. Got all your meats, vegetables on the side, and as the water heats up on the side, the steam rises through the middle. So it's like a pipe system in the middle. Very delicious. Let's see, we have in there ginger, mushrooms, lamb parts, and a cover just to heat it up. Oh, it's hot.
Now we gotta wait.
We have to wait for what?
I don't know. Chu said this boiling.
Yeah, you have to wait till it starts boiling. Now that's one thing that I always have a problem with. Oh wait, let's see what. Oh, we have stomach. Yeah, we have stomach, lotus, tofu. Looks like some pickled cabbage, rice noodles. Is that tofu? Yeah. So tofu. Can't have that. I'm allergic to tofu. So the options with these are traditionally they're spicy. So like the Sichuan style is very spicy. I mean, so spicy. You just have to experience it to understand how hot they really are and how delicious it is. In Sichuan, this each restaurant makes their own chili oil, so that they have the chili oil. Oh, okay. What do we have here? It's a bit different. Okay, for the dipping sauces, this one has some kind of peanut with that's like fermented soybean sauce there. Then they have garlic, sesame oil, which is uh, that's what we'll do Chengdu style, as they'll call it, which is the capital of Sichuan. So with that really spicy hot pot that you're dipping your meats in, you dip it in, your sauce will be sesame oil and a lot of garlic, a ton of garlic. Probably, I have a big hand, so my handful of garlic in a bowl, just raw garlic. So garlic, it is used oftenly when you have not so credible meats, so it will kill bacteria. And so it's really good to eat a lot of raw garlic if your meat's very suspicious. So I think that's probably how it got introduced into the dipping sauce. I'm not sure, but it is delicious as well. And I'm not really a big fan of garlic. We have a big bowl of mushrooms here. The ear fungus mushroom, it's a black, and it's called wood ear because it does look like an ear. Very crunchy mushroom. Needle mushrooms. They are 5 inches long, very thin. I lost a crown one time eating those. The needle mushroom got caught in my crown. I tried to it feels like floss because they're so thin. And it was in there and it just popped out. So that's going to be another story about dental work on another podcast about having that fixed, because that was an experience, having the crown put back in. And that was actually done here in China as well, on the cheap. So yeah, that is not recommended, but it had to be done. We have some oyster mushrooms as well. It's a lot of mushrooms. That's my favorite. Maybe more so than the meat. Just depends on where you get your meat. In Asia, meats is very expensive. So, especially in China, it's hard to get a high quality meat that isn't absurdly expensive. I'm talking $50 a pound for what would be just a standard ribeye that you could get $7 a pound, I would say, in the States. Not a premium cut by any means. If you want premium cut, like the USDA, like the Select, like Grade A Select, sometimes you can find it in the supermarket. I'd buy it $12, $13 a pound. That will be $100 a pound here in China, in Shanghai, if you want to buy that. So for a hot pot to go in a restaurant, that's what it would cost you in the supermarket to buy. So if you went to a restaurant and they're serving it, it's just very expensive. Well, let's see what we have here. We have some, is this lamb? Yeah, I have some grilled lamb to start off before that. Very good, fatty lamb. So usually your good meats are going to be lamb, chicken, pork. A good cut of beef is expensive. So I like to bring back packets of the chili, they're actual bricks of chili that come from Sichuan, and make my own hot pot at home. Buy some really nice beef, slice it myself, and have I'll say even a better hot pot than here, because once you have the sauces, the meats, you can they no matter where you go here, the meat's just not going to compare to what you can get, especially for the price in the U.S. or Australia, New Zealand beef. A lot of these little lamb pieces, so good. Yeah, they're covered in like a cumin sauce. Cumin, a little spicy. So when I first started eating hot pot, and that's something if you travel to China, and you have local friends, they're going to your first meal or two. It's going to be hot pot, and I never liked it because you have this boiling pot in which everyone's sitting around putting their chopsticks into the same pot. Now it is boiling, but when you add new things, it's going to stop boiling. So you have a lot of potential for cross contamination. From a cooking standpoint, you don't want you don't want to take your chopsticks that you're eating with, grab a raw meat, you put it into the pot, but your chopsticks still have touched the raw meat. So I was always the one that would have to have. I'd be like, all right, we're setting aside these chopsticks. They only touch the meat, and people would always be like, "Oh, you baby." Yeah. Well, after you crap your pants so many times, nothing you can do about that. So other than fix it, and that's not being too crude, but you can't be eating raw meat and touching your utensils. And also, I never liked the peanut sauce. I like this fermented soybean sauce. I don't like all of those. After going to Chengdu and having the Sichuan style, I really like the spicy, just cauldron of oils, and just dip it into the sesame and chopped garlic. That's a really good combination, and I think they have it right. It's simpler, but it's better. It's absolutely impossible to describe how unique each restaurant is in Sichuan. Now I'm in Shanghai, and we're having the northern style hot pot, the Mongolian style. But my favorite is the Sichuan. It's just an open bowl, uh, rich to like dark red to almost black. That the chili oil is, and every restaurant has their own secret recipe, and the flavors are just so unique. I can't describe it, but they're different, and they are so spicy, but so good. You will just punish yourself. It's like being uh, punched in the gut and be like, oh, but you have to have another. So when I was eating the hot pot in Sichuan, just I had a pile of napkins. My nose was dripping, just running everywhere, and basically just cramming napkins up my nose to get it to stop from running. I don't know how many cans of Coke, and Coke, by the way, the best combination with spicy food is Coca-Cola. For the super spicy food, a cold Coca-Cola, there's nothing's better than that. But I was going through quite a few because this food was just so nuclear. Everyone else in the restaurant, the local Chengdu people, they didn't have anything to drink. Not a glass of water, maybe some tea. Some drink the like white wines called baijiu. That's it. And I definitely look like an amateur. I was. But even, I don't know how much spicy food you'd have to eat to build up that tolerance, because it was incredibly spicy. My body just sweating, shaking. It's so spicy, but it's so good. And that's the thing. You make like, why would you eat something so spicy? It's because it was so delicious. And I've had a lot of spicy foods, but the way that they let the chilies and oils mix and saturate, it really is something special. So that's recommended to do if you ever visit China, is to go to Chengdu, central China. A bit of a trip, but definitely worth it. Because Chengdu's is in that ancient pathway of the Silk Road. Oh. Had a girl fall in the restaurant, a little bit clumsy. Too much spicy food. So, yeah, Chengdu sits on the Silk Road, and the chilies that they have, the red chilies that most people associate with Sichuan, are not native. They come over from the Americas. So that was just one of those things that once the discovery of the Americas happened, chilies made their way on the Silk Road, and they just found home in Sichuan, and now Sichuan's just synonymous with spicy food. But those really nice red chilies actually come from South America. We have some pickled radishes, some peanuts, Coca-Cola. Cola. Oh, thank you. And a straw. A twisty straw. So let me... Well, right now I'm at 10 minutes. So I will stop. Okay. What is this?
羊蝎子.
Can you explain to people who don't know? Just like a shoulder, the shoulder of the meat.
I think it's shoulder.
Yeah, it's lamb.
The lamb.
Yeah.
That's the shoulder part.
Okay.
It's not the regular. See how big.
No, that's the vertebrae. It's the back. Yeah. This is the probably neck bones. Yeah, neck bones. Now, through the magic of editing, we have jumped from doing Chinese hot pot in China, specifically Shanghai, to doing shabu shabu, as I mentioned earlier, in Tokyo. Right now we're having shabu shabu overlooking the streets of Tokyo. A very beautiful restaurant on, I don't know, 12th floor, I think, something like that. You can see all the crosswalks, all the city lights. And we have excellent Wagyu beef. Wagyu beef, dipping it in the shabu shabu. And something I didn't mention earlier that I was reminded of is the traditional Japanese style of doing the hot pot, or the shabu shabu as they call it, is dipping your meat into a fresh egg. So a raw egg. You crack a raw egg and dip the meat into the egg, and that's your sauce. Not really my kind of thing. I still went with the kind of garlic, sesame, some pickled radish. This one, I don't really like the raw egg on meat. And you definitely have to make sure that thing is fresh and can't be using old eggs, or I don't know. Oh, we have udon noodles to put in there as well. Some ramen, some udon. But the meat is beautifully marbled. Wagyu. So good. We're actually at a place where you can eat, you get 100 minutes, see how much you can eat. And they keep bringing you the Wagyu beef. And pretty reasonable price, maybe $40 a person. Not bad for that kind of quality meat. Very delicious. Let's put the udon in the broth here. Try not to splash it. Yeah, you can put some like bok choys in there, some baitai. Okay, got some udon in the beef broth. Let those noodles soak up that beef broth. Beef broth. There we go. It'll be delicious. Yeah, excellent skyline view. Too bad this is a podcast. That have all the taxis in. If you are not aware, Japan, they do drive on the British side of the road. Yeah, let's see. Some tofu. Of course, I don't eat. Dried onions. Yeah, I just don't like the egg. I can't even. Yeah, I just don't like doing the raw egg. Can't do that. No, no. But yeah, it was interesting coming in today from. I flew from Shanghai to Tokyo, and just getting through checking in and clearing customs in Pudong took me right at 3 hours. I had just arrived a little early and not really expecting to be there that early, but thankfully I was. But just if you ever have to fly in and out of, and if I'm not mistaken, that's the most delayed airport in the world. Yeah, it's a little bit brutal. And I've been actually having a nice film slimy layer of sweat on me ever since I stepped into that airport, because this is where, when I used to live in Shanghai, the humidity there it's always year round. It's 80-90% humidity on any given day. So when you go in from one building to the next, they usually have the temperature set pretty high, or you just have so many people around you, it's just naturally hot. So when you're walking outside, the temperature can be a little cool, but it's very humid no matter when it is. So you have a coat or something, sweater, it's going to slowly start expanding. Your jeans are going to get a little longer, sweater is going to start drooping because it's just hot and sweaty. So standing in the line at the airport for 3 hours, it's tough. And it's always interesting to see people who wear they like a Canada Goose, which is a down. If you don't know that, it's a down. They sell down jackets, like Arctic expedition jackets. Something that is probably for below zero only. Below zero has to be the baseline before you can even put something like that on. But people will stand in line just to show their fashion and loyalty to the brand, show that they have one. But you can see them just dripping in sweat. Yeah, I can't do that. I was the only person standing in a t-shirt, but I don't care because it gets pretty sticky in a Chinese airport any time of the year. But I'm going to finish up the shabu shabu here. We have a few more minutes left, and see what Tokyo can bring us on the next coming days. Thank you for listening.